Na'eem Offord has been on campus at Alabama 4 of the last 8 days. The Crimson Tide trying to close in on this 5-star prospect, and hopefully he's ready to stay home for the college football season. Ty Jackson returns for an official visit. That's coming up. We're going to talk about another difference maker. How about the AHSAA moving the Super 7 from Tuscaloosa and Auburn because of the college football playoff, and the ACC-SEC Challenge has Bama against UNC. That's worth talking about and more right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. Thanks for hanging out with us. And here's your invitation to the party. Make sure you tell your friends about it. Let's get this thing going. Roll Tide, everybody. There he is, Big Sexy Elmo. I'm Mick Gillespie. Thanks for hanging out with us. I might have some chips in my mouth, but it's morning time.
Are you awake? Are you okay?
I'm getting my morning started with, like, it's not Cookie Crisp.
It's the breakfast of champions. It's chips. Yeah, that's you had a big day in the sun yesterday, and man, I tell you, I'm a little jealous that you get to enjoy that that Alabama Gulf Coast.
Yeah, it's pretty close to Florida. All right, and I actually was in Florida. All right, Na'eem Offord, he's been on campus 4 of 8 days. Alabama trying to basically convince him to go there instead of Ohio State. You got Ryan Williams saying, "Hey, man, you need to come play with me." You got Roll Tide Willie, your guy, putting in some love for this guy. What do you think?
Well, what I think is Alabama's putting the pedal to the metal on the recruitment of Offord. They got behind a little bit on him, and Ohio State got the jump. Now, we have to look at what does this mean. Obviously, he came and spent the weekend, 2 weekends ago, I guess it was, and that would have been an unofficial visit. So things went really well, and he comes this past weekend, and this is an official visit, and he brings his parents, and you know, so the trust and the communication and everything seems to be going Bama's way. And yesterday, he's on campus, but not in a official visit or unofficial visit capacities, there for a 7-on-7 camp. But what is he rocking? He's rocking those Alabama gloves. What does that mean? Who knows? Now, I do know that this weekend he is scheduled to go back to Ohio State, where they will make, obviously, another big push for him. But I tend to believe, Mick, that this guy, he's committed to Ohio State, but I think he may be having some buyer's remorse. I believe this guy's struggling internally with the decision to stay close to home and play for Alabama, or move up north to play for Ohio State. And when you have your parents on campus, that's a big deal. I don't, what those parents say, they may say, you know what, it'd be really nice for you to be down the road and playing football instead of us having to go to Ohio and check you out. And, so I think that's where this thing is, Mick. I think it's one of those situations where he's really having a battle internally now, because he's really catching this Bama vibe, and he sees this news like we do. I mean, we know the waves that we're making in the recruiting front, and being from Alabama, he hears more of that than he would an Ohio State buzz. He lives here. Obviously, he's going to be hearing all about Alabama and Auburn and all that other stuff. He doesn't hear about the Ohio State, Michigan stuff on a daily basis walking down the street. Of course, he sees it on the internet. But what I'm saying is, when you're walking down the street and you have your friends, your neighbors, your church members, everybody saying, you need to go to Alabama. That's a difference maker. That's probably what he's getting, and we see it on the social media sites. People are really pushing him to saying stay home and roll with the tide.
Well, it'd be such a good, kind of a connection. I mean, the fact that he's from Birmingham and then playing for Alabama. You don't want to lose any of these guys to Ole Miss or, LSU or Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State, any of these, out of state schools. So it's definitely one of those battles that this coaching staff is in the middle of fighting. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, he's a guy who would fit in so well with Alabama, who needs help in the secondary, and he's one of the best in the country. Now, talking about secondary, Ty Jackson returns for his official visit June 21st to 23rd. You're talking about a guy that is slightly favored to go to Alabama from Seminal Ridge in Florida. Georgia's in on him. Florida's in on him. Penn State's on him. Four-star consensus, four-star defensive back. And this is another guy that Alabama needs.
Number one linebacker in the country, Mick, in this class, 2025, 6'1", 200. And we've talked all about him. I mean, we know what this guy's all about. I mean, last year there for Seminole Ridge, I mean, he was a playmaker. We talked about this the other day on every side of the ball. This guy's a tackling machine. Credited for 135 tackles, 4 of those for a loss, 4 forced fumbles, a couple of sacks, a couple of interceptions, and a fumble recovery. Then on the offensive side of the ball, the guy plays a little bit of receiver. He caught 15 passes, just over 250 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And then on special teams, they use him for kickoff returns, and he returned 2 of those for a touchdown. But when you have a playmaker like this, so this guy, he is an elite athlete. And when you have a guy like that on your high school football team, obviously you're going to use him everywhere on the field. But he's the number one linebacker in the class, and he's got great instincts, and he checks all the boxes of what we want and what any college football coach would want. And that's why everyone is down to try to get him. But he's scheduled this official visit. He's already been around and been on campus, and he knows what it's all about. But it's that official visit that matters. And he'll come in a week or two and check out to things, and probably bring his family and the whole 9 yards. And Bama once again will make another strong push to try to land this guy. Look,
and the recruiting's been amazing. I mean, this group has done an amazing job of stepping in and trying to. Nobody can replace Nick Saban, but just to try to get in there and do your part. And it's guys like Ty Jackson, who you feel really comfortable with. You think he's going to pick Alabama when it's all said and done. A great linebacker, but a guy that could also defend the pass if he needed him to, rush the quarterback. I mean, he's a difference maker. So we'll see what happens. But I've been so thoroughly impressed with the way that this staff has recruited, trying to replace Nick Saban.
Right. And of course, Saban was an excellent recruiter. We all know that, and his staff was too. And a lot of these guys, Saban and his staff probably laid the foundation for, and just pass over those notes. He probably had a binder full of notes on just about every kid imaginable. There's no telling. Anyway, the job the staff's done, there has not been a hiccup. We got a little bit scared, I guess is probably the best term, when Coach retired, and then Coach DeBoer came in when we had a mass exodus of transfers. But guess what? If I wouldn't have mentioned that right now, we've all forgotten about that. I mean, really and truly, we've all forgotten about that because the success that he has been having on the recruiting trail. I mean, I don't think anything about that portal and all those guys transferring out, and because you even had people transfer back in, begging, saying, "Hey, I made a big mistake."
Yeah,
that's what's cool about this, and I just we haven't missed a beat, and that's a scary thing for the Georgias of the world, the Auburns of the world, the Ohio States, Michigans, and all of them. That's a scary thing because when Saban retired, they all rejoiced, and now they're sitting here and they're thinking, "What are they doing?"
Yeah, right. Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
All right, so the AHSAA moves the Super 7. It used to be at Bryant-Denny and Jordan-Hare. They're moving it out of those two spots because of the college football playoff. I'm so confused by this. I mean, that they're the two most popular spots for football in the state. So if you move it to Birmingham, I mean, don't the UAB Blazers hope to make the playoffs? I mean, what's the deal?
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, UAB hopes to make the playoffs. We know that, but in all honesty, would that happen? I don't know. But, yeah, they're moving away from Bryant-Denny and Jordan-Hare because of the college football expansion. And, and this is the Alabama High School Athletic Association. And we're going to start to see this in other states. Of course, we have people watching this show from all over the country. And your high school football, some of you probably were on the same plan that the Alabama High School Athletic Association was on, where they kind of, played their big championship games at a big time sports facility, like one of the colleges or whatever. But now that the season lasts so long and the potential to have a home playoff game, that wipes out everything. But Tuscaloosa, Auburn, and Birmingham was just added a couple years ago when they built the new protective stadium.
Right.
They were using Legion Field for a long time. They got away from the old gray lady because she's lost her luster. And that's when they went to the Alabama-Auburn rotation. Now, when Birmingham built the new stadium for UAB, protective stadium, they added that into the rotation. Birmingham was already going to host the event this year anyway. So this also opens up the door, too, now for maybe some smaller facilities like the stadium down in Mobile, where you are, possibly the stadium in Montgomery. It opens up the door for some of the smaller stadiums that host big events to get into a rotation here. I personally like it in Birmingham at Protective Stadium because it's still, new and it's funny that this happened because if you'll remember, Mick, a few days ago, I was complaining about these schools playing in these big 100,000 seat stadiums, 100,000 seat stadiums when, it felt like the crowds were swallowed up. Protective Stadium, that's like I believe that's a 40,000 seat stadium.
Yeah, it's definitely smaller.
It's, it's half the size. And I believe I would like that a whole lot better because just the ambiance, it felt so weird playing at Bryant-Denny and Jordan-Hare because you would have a big crowd there for a high school football game, but the stadium's so big, it didn't seem like you had a crowd there at all,
Yeah.
So I like it in Birmingham. I think it's a neutral site for these teams, and that part of Birmingham has a lot to offer now, as far as tourism is concerned. And this is a big, well, it's big for Birmingham for sure.
Yeah, it's a shame for Tuscaloosa and Auburn, but
Yeah,
I guess that I mean somehow I guess it's all tied together.
yeah.
But something else that's coming is the ACC SEC Challenge. We were wondering who Alabama would match up against. Round 3 of Bama against North Carolina. How about Bama at North Carolina? This is going to be fun.
Be a great trip. I was talking to a guy yesterday, big Bama fan, and we were talking about the price of tickets in football and how basketball is going to be the same way. It's going to be a tough ticket to get. That'd be a great road trip. I'm intrigued by the matchup, obviously, because it's Alabama, North Carolina, a blue blood, and Alabama's up and coming and really establishing their basketball program. But that would be a great road trip for a college basketball fan, especially if you're an Alabama, fan. That would be a great road trip. I think Alabama will travel well there. But let's face it, we got to go on the road. It'll be a hostile environment, and those guys, they probably aren't too happy with us because we beat them in 2022 and 23 in 4 overtimes, and then of course we remember last year beat them out in LA by a bucket. And then we've beat them on the recruiting trail too for a couple of commits. So they're going to be waiting on us. But I think this team can go into Chapel Hill if everything pans out the way we think it is, and give North Carolina a run for their money for sure.
Yeah, we're becoming a thorn in their side.
Yeah, we really are, and I love it because when you talk about basketball, you instantly think of the North Carolinas, the Dukes. By the way, Auburn's got to go to Duke with this ACC SEC challenge. But I think it also gives some credibility to our program that they're not sending a Kentucky or they're not sending a Tennessee to play in these games. Alabama, is getting and Auburn both are getting a marquee matchup.
It's crazy to say it, but the state of Alabama right now is pretty close to the epicenter of college basketball. And to see these two programs, when you do the SEC ACC challenge, where you got to make sure that Alabama is matched up with your 1 and Auburn's matched up with your 2 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. And and talking about the basketball season as a whole. I mean the marquee games. You look at it. November 15th at Purdue. We've got Illinois coming to Birmingham to play 5 days later. Then a week later, we play Houston in Las Vegas. December 4th, we're at North Carolina. December 14th, we host Creighton. I tell you what, Nate Oates, he's not scared of anyone. He'll play anyone, anytime, anywhere. And with this schedule right here, I'm telling you that if that schedule doesn't get you ready for March, nothing will.
No, and I love the fact that Alabama's not afraid to take on the competition. Guys, if you feel comfortable about where Alabama is, go to Pearl River Resort right now and put your money at the sports book at Pearl River Resort, the Timeout Sports Lounge. And if you spend $50, you can get a round of golf at Dancing Rabbit for $40. It's a great deal. April 1st to the August 31st deadline to get that deal. But Dancing Rabbit is the Augusta you can play. They got the sports book. They got the Timeout Sports Lounge we're talking about, table games and slots. They got the water park. They got it all right there in Choctaw, Mississippi, Philadelphia, Mississippi, an hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2 hours from Birmingham. Great people, great partners. They're celebrating 30 years at Golden Moon and Silver Star, their casinos, and that includes Boys to Men, Big and Rich, Gretchen Wilson. They got Rodney Carrington coming, Brian McKnight. Just find out for yourself at Pearl River Resort. And again, we can't thank them enough for being part of it. All right, look, Brett's in position. When we come back from our quick timeout, Brett's going to take over with what's going on today. But what I want to ask you guys again is make sure that you share and tell your friends about the show. If you like it, man, tell them so that they're a part of it. Roll Tide.
Resort. They call him Big Sexy, coming at you from the Walker County. Jasper is his hometown. He's known for giving free rundowns. Oh, Big Sexy, throwing out those Alabama thoughts, sneaking out your mom's window without getting caught. It gives you the XPs, but Big Elmo is here to please. Big Sexy Elmo on the Bama Tailgate Show.
Ha ha! Yes, today
What an intro.
Oh, yeah, what an intro. Today is the 13th day of June. Can you believe that we are approaching the halfway mark of the year? Or, the month and the year.
And my birthday.
And your birthday. Your birthday is coming up.
Yeah.
Today is my nephew's birthday. I want to wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
My oldest nephew. Today is also the birthday of a guy by the name of Tim Allen, a very funny guy. He's 71.
Yeah, from Tool Time. Tool Time Tim.
Yeah, Tim the Tool Man Taylor.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Comedian. That was a great show. Still funny. Good for him.
Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. Remember the twin actresses who played at Full House? They are now 38.
Man, and you never saw them together, right? And I love the show. And then they did the reboot, and those two were they were like, we're not doing the reboot. I love that show, Full House. They were a really small part of the whole show. I mean, they really were. But, anytime you got a twin and you guys can like work together, that's cool. And it was a great show.
Yeah, it was a great show. They had all the potential in the world. They were babes like in their early 20s, and then they turned into skanks. I don't know what happened to them. Anyway,
did they?
Yeah, it seemed like I saw some pictures and I was like, what in the hell happened to the Olsen twins? Because
I don't know about this.
I don't know about all this. But anyway, Chris Evans, the actor, he was in the Avengers, the Captain America movies. He's 43 today.
What guy was he? Wasn't he Captain America?
I think he was. Chris Evans.
Yeah,
he's 43 today. Rivers Cuomo, he's the lead singer of Weezer.
Man, I love Weezer.
He's
moved to Hawaii.
I can't believe he's 54.
Man, when I moved to Hawaii, it was like when Weezer's album hit, and it was like, why are these homies? It was like,
my girl.
great album. I mean, I don't know, like, about they had one good song on their other album, and then, they're doing like old 80s music now. But that first album was so good. Like the whole album was good. I may even listen to it after the show.
If you want to destroy my sweater.
Whoa. Like, I loved it, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, the hash pipe was a good one. I got my hash pipe. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it was hot. I lived in Hawaii, went to University of Hawaii, and that was the album we all listened to. great. I didn't really go there. I was an exchange student.
Yeah.
And I was out there. But yeah, great album, man. Those guys are cool. I was looking at their album the other day, and I was like, like their whole thing was they just look like normal guys,
Yeah, I saw them live in concert once or twice, and they were great. Steve-O from Jackass is 50 today.
I love Steve-O. Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time in Knoxville, and one of the spots I go to is the Vol Market. Even as an Alabama fan, those guys, Alan and Richie, always like accept me, and it's partly because of Baron Huber, because he's from Knoxville, and they know him, and they know Big Kev, his dad. So when I go in, they're great. They're great. Not I don't know that they're great to all Alabama fans, but they're great to Baron Huber, who played at Alabama, won a national championship in 2009, and they're great to me because I'm friends with him. But I think it was Alan, and maybe it was both Alan and Richie, but they grew up with Johnny Knoxville.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, they were friends from, high school. And, I don't know if they still keep in touch. I mean, obviously Johnny's like a, LA guy now, but Steve-O is so funny to me.
Yeah.
I love he's dealt with his drug issues, and now it's like he's like going back through and apologizing to everybody, and he's like, I think
he's on tour, and he's coming to Birmingham. I think I saw him coming up, but
I'm a fan.
I like Steve-O, and of course Walker County's own Butterbean was in the Jackass thing.
Was he?
Yeah. Yeah, one of them got in a fight with Butterbean.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was great. Today's holidays, something we were talking about like a couple days ago, Mick. It's International Axe Throwing Day.
Yeah, I told you, like, I'm not, I'm in Biloxi. I see that they got axe throwing, different places. That doesn't interest me. Like, I'm not trying to go somewhere, drink beer, and throw axes. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I'll drink beer with you if you're throwing axes, but that's just not my bag.
So what would happen if you, of course, you couldn't, well, okay, all right, now, what if? All right, what if you went on a date, say, with your lovely wife, and maybe you went with me, and I had a date, and it was his first time with this girl and everything. So me and you, we're sitting there, we're having a beer, okay? And we throw the axes, we're like, yeah, all macho and everything. And then, the girls get up there, and we're like sitting back, we're like having a nice beer or whatever. And then all of a sudden they start throwing, and they're like really, really good at it.
I mean, that would be fine with me. I don't care about that. I mean, I just like throwing axes and drinking beer to me isn't something that I'm interested in. Like,
I guess that's why you have to sign a liability paper when you go in there.
But I'm not like, it may be fun. I just haven't done it, but it's just not something where I'm like, I drive by and I'm like, man, if I could just get in there and throw some axes with everybody, I would be, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, that's true.
I'm just like, nah, not my thing.
Today is National Kitchen Klutzes of America Day.
Yeah, what a weird, like, I don't even know what that is, but I've seen a lot of kitchen klutzes. I didn't know they had their own day. I don't even know how you celebrate that. You drop the eggs or the waffles or, or whatever. Like there's no day for you. Like, you just ruin breakfast.
Yeah. If the fire alarm in your house goes off when your wife is cooking, chances are she's a kitchen klutz. National Weed Your Garden Day is today. Clean up that garden.
Well, my grandparents, I told you, they had gardens. They would farmers.
Yeah.
And they would love to just like be like, hey, I'll give you 10 cents a weed that you pull out, or something like that. Like, or 1 cent for every potato bug you pull. Like, it was never a good deal for you. It's like, they basically like doing it just to do it. You know what I mean? Like, you weren't going to make enough money to make it worth it, but you made them happy.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. All right, let's see here. On this date in history, 1948, a dying Babe Ruth made his last appearance at Yankee Stadium on the 25th anniversary of opening the house that Ruth built to see his uniform number 3 retired and to acknowledge his fans. He died about 2 months later.
Yeah, the funny thing, well, I don't even say it's funny because, you know, Babe Ruth was such an icon, but if you watch the movie about Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth is genuinely in there, you know, like you'll watch it and then you're like, hey, wait a second, like that's really Babe Ruth. And you can tell like it's him, you know, like he's in there.
Wow.
Those two had this conflict. And it was all based off of something that Lou Gehrig said, and Babe Ruth like took exception to it, and then they didn't talk for a while. But then when Lou Gehrig got sick, you know, Babe Ruth was like buried the hatchet, and you're talking about two of the most iconic players in baseball history, right? So then it turns into Babe Ruth, and he ended up with, I think, throat cancer. And so he comes back and, you know, and he sounds like a frog and addresses Yankee Stadium one last time. And people loved him. People loved him. They love him now. I mean, like, I don't know how many people are alive that even saw Babe Ruth, you know?
Right.
But, you know, just to think about that kind of an impact that you make on the world and, you know, sports world or whatever. But that was the Bambino. That was Babe Ruth. And it, you know, obviously it was a major deal, you know, to lose the Bambino.
2005, Michael Jackson was found not guilty on all 10 counts in his California child molestation trial.
I've seen like the movies of some of the kids that were involved in that or whatever. I don't believe Michael Jackson. I mean, I love his music, but I believe the kids. There's just something creepy about a grown man walking around with 8-year-olds. I honestly I don't believe him. I think he was a child molester and and a great musician. And the parents enabled it too, you know, because they let him hang out. I mean, how many, you know, if any of you guys that are parents, I mean, how many times you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna let my 8-year-old go hang out with this guy, you know, like, but I'm not.
Oh yeah, let's go. He can go have a spend the night party with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, Brett, has there ever been a time where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go let him hang out with this guy over here, you know, a grown man. I'm not gonna be there, but like, hey, you guys have a good time.
Yeah, y'all have a great time. Yeah, really weird, but couldn't doubt the guy's music. 2006, San Francisco Giants. Matt Cain pitches the first perfect game in franchise history against the Astros.
Love those Giants teams. You know, Bruce Bochy was the manager, and then he won the World Series as manager of the Texas Rangers last year. But they won 3 World Series in 6 years. Every other year they won the World Series. You know, they had Buster Posey and Tim Lincecum, and, you know, you mentioned Matt Cain and Madison Bumgarner. That was a fun team to watch, and they just found a way, you know, and I love that about teams. They were tough. They did things the right way. So I remember when Matt Cain wasn't even like part of the dynasty at first, but he just slid in and was like the next guy.
And finally on the calendar, 2008, Coldplay's first U.S. hit single, Viva La Vida, is released.
Yeah, and you and I both love Coldplay.
Yeah.
One of the best bands of our time, just fantastic. And like their albums are great. Would love to see them in concert. And I think they're great.
Very good. Well, that's a look at this day in history.
Yeah. And another fun show, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. And thanks for hanging out with us. Roll Tide, everybody.